for coming. It means a lot to me. My name is Pierson, and I'm running for City Council in New York's 33rd Council District. I am not a politician, as my wife keeps reminding me, and I've never especially wanted to be one. But I'm here today because I feel compelled to challenge the incumbent, Councilman Steve Levin. Councilman Levin does not represent the values of this district. The 33rd, this district, is one of the more progressive districts in the city, in a progressive city. How then do we end up with Steve Levin, a councilman who is completely, brazenly, embarrassingly deferential to the most vile man in Brooklyn politics, Vito Lopez? How did we end up with a councilman who has wasted millions of our taxpayer dollars, sending them out of district to Vito Lopez's corrupt so-called nonprofit? How did we end up with a councilman who stood completely silent when his mentor, Vito Lopez, repeatedly sexually assaulted and harassed his young interns? I'm not generally an angry person or a cynical person. I've run a nonprofit for the last 7 years. I work with incredibly inspiring artists and writers and middle school students. I have an amazing wife and an awesomely active 2-year-old daughter, who is usually much more active than this. These things inspire me and fill me with joy and optimism. But I can't stand idly by while Councilman Levin demeans this district with his 19th century politics, while he continually puts his own political aspirations ahead of the needs of this community. Let's be more specific. Steve Levin was Vito Lopez's chief of staff. Vito got him elected to the city council. That's indisputable. Since then, Levin has made it his mission on the council to pay back those debts with interest. Vito runs a thoroughly corrupt charity, the Ridgewood-Bushwick Senior Citizens Council. Ridgewood-Bushwick has been the target of multiple federal investigations. Vito has stacked its executive leadership with his friends, who all make criminally massive salaries. Its executive director made $782,000 in one recent year, courtesy of taxpayers. Even Vito's girlfriend serves as one of its directors. She made $343,000 in the same year that she simultaneously earned a full-time salary from the city as a planning commissioner, appointed, of course, by Vito Lopez. Steve Levin has made it his personal mission to direct as many council funds as possible to Ridgewood-Bushwick. During Levin's first 3 years in office, his efforts have directly resulted in more than $2 million taxpayer dollars being sent to Ridgewood-Bushwick. This so-called nonprofit doesn't even serve residents of this district. To add insult to injury, Steve Levin has given out our district's discretionary budget to Ridgewood-Bushwick. Every year, each councilman gets a small amount of money to send to the local nonprofit community. And without fail, every year, about half of our money goes out of district to Ridgewood-Bushwick. One year, $12,000 of that money was used to pay for a single lunch at Ridgewood. Now, lunch happens to be my favorite meal, so I can empathize up to a point, but not completely. Stephen Levin, he needs to be reminded that this is not his money. This is our money. Oddly enough, as those of you who follow politics surely know, the recent downfall of Vito was not due to Ridgewood-Bushwick shenanigans, but because he repeatedly sexually harassed and assaulted multiple young female interns, one even as young as 14. It seems completely implausible to me that none of this occurred under Steve Levin's watch when he was Vito's chief of staff. Was he completely oblivious? If so, maybe it's unwise to elect a councilman whose best characteristic in this scenario is obliviousness. The other option, of course, is much worse, that he was aware and chose to ignore it for his own personal political gain. In either case, when these years of predatory behavior finally came to light, Steve Levin was our only local elected official who was completely silent on this. He refused even a single word of condemnation. As a father of a 2-year-old daughter, I find this especially despicable. Cold, crass political self-interest once again trumps ethical behavior of Councilman Levin. Steve Levin is not dumb. He's very savvy politically. Trying to cover up his record of cronyism, he's recently tacked very hard to the left. He's joined the Progressive Caucus, he's cast some genuinely good votes, and in the last year, he's been very active at community meetings. Now I'm a basketball fan, so please forgive a quick basketball analogy. For me, this is as if Eddie Curry, former Knicks player, famously talented, famously lazy, suddenly got into phenomenal physical condition and started playing great defense during a contract year. Probably unwise to reward him with a long-term contract in that situation. Similarly, having an elected representative who continually boasts the right, cast the right votes for the wrong reasons will always come back to hurt us. Sadly, of course, this sort of behavior is all too common in Brooklyn politics. So how do we solve this problem? I mean, beyond simply giving Levin the boot, how do we create a different political structure that proactively prevents this sort of behavior? Part of the reason Levin's been able to get away with so much, outside of veto support, of course, is that he does not actively involve the community in his decision-making. He's communicative, but in the wrong ways. He sends out lots of tweets and sends out mailings and press releases, all pretty much describing how wonderful he is. I propose a different way of doing things. I've been living in this great borough of Brooklyn for 14 years, and I'm continually amazed by how much I learn every day just by listening to people. My nonprofit is built around the idea that everyone has a compelling story to tell, that we can all learn something by listening. So let's listen. Let's listen to artists and to writers, to middle school students and to seniors. Let's listen to our teachers and plumbers and even to our bankers. Let's listen to our district's entire Hasidic community, which Mr. Levin might be surprised to learn includes thousands of impoverished Aaronites, whose many needs Levin has ignored at every turn, refusing to meet with them, refusing to even return their phone calls, simply because they did not support him in the last election. Let's listen to everyone. Occasionally, even my 2-year-old daughter has an odd burst of insight, but it's not likely to occur right now. I propose that we should have a city councilman who prioritizes listening over hyping himself. When I first started my nonprofit 7 years ago, I had just turned 30, and therefore thought myself very wise and worldly. I was a self-assured control freak, and therefore very bad at my job. But over the last 7 years, I've realized that the community of writers and artists, and even middle school students that I work with, collectively are far, far wiser than me. Every day they teach me something new about the community and about how to better run my organization. So as your council member, I will listen. I know that the Brooklyn community, collectively, has a far greater, more nuanced understanding of the issues facing it than I ever could on my own. To that end, I will hold weekly open community meetings. On the more contentious issues, I will organize town hall-style forums and debates. I will have long, regularly scheduled open office hours. I will have an email address and a telephone number from which messages from the community are actually responded to. From what I've heard, not exactly a strength of Mr. Levin's office. I propose using the full spectrum of social media, including Facebook and Twitter, to actively solicit ideas from the community and to make the community continuously informed of council votes well before they happen. And when I am councilman, the members of this community choose to send our discretionary funds to Ridgewood Bushwick, and I will humbly seek their wishes. But I somehow doubt that will happen. For years, Vito Lopez ruled Brooklyn politics through fear and intimidation and revenge. If you spoke out against him or defied him in the slightest way, you would be crushed. Steve Levin has repeatedly called Vito Lopez his mentor. This should frighten us. This is no way to conduct oneself in contemporary Brooklyn. We can do better. Thank you. Woo!